Good Monday morning. Today we are going to talk about when the right time is to move to senior, from junior to senior. And this week Fun Function is sponsored by Seen by Indeed, which is a job matching platform specifically built for tech, and it's very focused on matching and career coaching and helping you improve your profile. We are going to talk more about Seen by Indeed after the show, but whenever we have a sponsor on that has a strong technical profile or can offer interesting advice in their domain, I tend to want to have that sponsor on to share their knowledge with you, the audience, to show that they are great and also to give you something good. And that is who we have with us today. This is Ingrid and Megan. And tell the audience what it is that you do first, I think.
So I am a career coach at Seen by Indeed along with Ingrid, and we are here to help our job seekers. So candidates will join Seen, and then after they're on the platform, they have access to career services, and that entails a whole bunch of things. We have access to a career center that has a lot of resources that we have crafted. There's videos, there's articles, there's cheat sheets, and then we also offer that one-on-one coaching, 30-minute phone calls, so you can get that individual help and support that you need. And we help with any and all parts of the job search process, from the very beginning stages of job search strategy, through that interview, through negotiation, and even career advancement.
And these are all completely free services to candidates, so definitely take advantage of it if you haven't used Seen before in the past. Again, we like to make sure that the job seeker comes first, so that's why all of our services are completely free to you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that this makes Seen by Indeed pretty unique. Like this coaching service that you offer. It's free, but is there any kind of tier for it? Like, do you have to be a developer of a certain level or be in a platform or anything like that?
You have to be in tech, and that's the only qualification. Having a background in tech, having some experience, being accepted to the platform. Yeah. So if you're a tech candidate and you are on Seen, then you will have that access to our services.
Oh, that's very clever. That makes a lot of sense since it's such a competitive field. You can give each developer much more time than if you were just on Indeed, which is like a very broad search engine, and then you can do different things. That's very clever.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can be anywhere in your career as well. So I know we're going to be talking about going into a senior level role today, but we work with folks who are going into their first internship to all the way to 10 plus years of experience. So it runs the gamut of what kind of folks are on the platform.
Which is pretty cool because when you're a senior developer, you can just throw a ball somewhere and you hit a job. And people are gunning for you and getting recruiters. But when you're a junior developer, it's a little bit harder to find someone to advocate for you. I think that is what's most interesting with Seen by Indeed, that it offers this offers this opportunity for junior developers. The title of this video is "When is the right time to move to senior?" This was voted very highly on a Twitter poll that I made. It came through as the thing that most people in the audience were interested in. This video is going to be in 3 segments. We're going to talk about if you questioning have you been acting like a senior developer already, and a reality check on can you actually handle it, and maybe you can, but do you want to? And then we were going to talk a little bit about imposter syndrome, because you probably think that you can't do this, but you probably can. And that's the outline of today's video and what we're going to talk about. Okay, so start out, the first thing that you need to ask yourself is, have I been acting in this role already? Have I been trying to embody the senior developer that I want to be?
Yeah, so just to start off with, hiring managers, especially and your own manager, likes to see that you've been doing projects that are outside of your pay grade or things that you've been doing to actually level up because it provides that evidence that you are capable of doing the job, even if you haven't held the title before or you haven't had that experience, but you have been contributing in a way that is showing that higher level work.
Yeah, so how do you get a feel for what kind of work that is?
I think it's good to look at the people who are in that role already in your company. It can vary by organization and of course by the size of your company as well. A startup company, the senior developer there, as we all know, all of the individuals at a startup are wearing many hats, right? So that could have a lot more responsibilities, a lot more pieces to that plate than you would have at a much larger company where it's a very obvious structure. That next role has a lot of obvious metrics and you know exactly what's expected of you in that moment going in. But either way, I think it's always important to talk to those people. Sit down, you know who the senior developer is at your company or the group of senior developers are at your company. Pick some of their brains and just say, I'm really interested in moving up to this next level. What does your day-to-day look like? And get those questions answered.
Yeah, and actually offering to maybe take some of their projects off their
Oh, that's
plate
good.
because that'll show that you're taking the initiative and actually saying, hey, you know what, I'm here to help in any way that I can. That's going to also bolster your experience with more projects in that senior level capacity.
So I think that a lot of people might be a little bit hesitant to approach a senior colleague in that way because you don't really want to be a nuisance. It's kind of like sitting down with me to like it's just something we can say about that.
Sure. Yeah, mentorship is an important part of being a leader. So a lot of senior developers will know that's part of their job as well. So they're going to be a little bit more open to actually mentoring, having that mentorship strategy. And a lot of companies require that as part of your position. So I think a lot of senior developers have that ability and that access to be a mentor, because that is something that really bolsters their career as well. So I think taking a good first step would be to or start small. So asking them for a 20-minute meeting or a 15-minute meeting just to sit down and chat, either have coffee or just make it very informal, and establishing that relationship first and foremost. It's not explicitly asking for something because, that really could be potentially a really big turnoff for them. It's really establishing that connection first and foremost so that you can prolong the conversation, because that conversation of moving into a different role or into a higher level position is an ongoing one. It's not just going to happen once. So you do want to build that connection and build that rapport first and foremost.
Yeah.
And that also says a lot about you too. It shows your ambition. It shows you're taking that initiative and you're excited about this, you're invested, and you are serious about moving on to this next level. So that's a great reflection of you, your personality, your work ethic, all of that together. So it only will look good in their eyes. Even if someone said, I just really don't have the time right now, they're going to remember that. And hopefully, find someone who can help you and provide that mentorship. But just like Ingrid said, this is part of their job as well and will become part of your job, being that mentor. So understand that and realize you're not being, intrusive, and you're not taking them away from something that's not got to do with their day to day. This is definitely a part of their position.
Yeah,
And they could view you as a partner, and this is going to be a partnership mutually beneficial for them as
Yes.
well. So you're not just getting something out of the equation, they're getting something out of it as well.
Yeah, mentoring is so much fun. That's exactly what I was about to add. Like I didn't know. Like I've done a little bit of it at Spotify, and it was so like nice and emotionally rewarding. Yes, like and also very very flattering. Like that's one of the things that
Yeah.
just come for you. Like when you're a senior, that suddenly there are people looking up to you, which is really weird. And like and
It's a huge
yeah,
compliment.
and it's so you're in a way you're doing them a service by asking. And as you said, Megan, like maybe they say no, but still they will be like you're on the radar, and they also now feel better because they were asked. Perhaps we can talk a little bit about how a company defines a senior role. How like what like why does the company separate that role into senior and junior developers?
My first initial response to that is it depends. So it really depends on the company and what they're looking to gain out of separating a junior level developer or kind of a mid level developer into a senior role. It really depends on the bandwidth of the company and what they're looking to accomplish. So like Megan mentioned before, for a startup, it's a hybrid role most of the time. So you're going to be doing some coding, but in addition to that, you'll be encompassing a lot of different senior level responsibilities, like, for example, mentorship or going to high level meetings and making hard decisions. So that's going to be a part of the equation as well. So technically, specifically for startups, having that hybrid role really serves a function for someone meeting both the needs of the company. For larger companies, in order to differentiate for those mid-level roles into a senior level role, they're occupying a certain niche or something that they're looking for. So it comes with a lot more responsibilities, essentially.
And you also have that hierarchy with those larger companies as well. And I think that that's a really great way for them to manage their people, is to have those tiers and have, this next level will then manage this group of people. And as we move up, that group grows larger and larger. So it helps to let you advance. Yes, it has that future for you, so it provides investment on your part. I want to stay here because I know I'll be able to grow, but you also get each of those tiers and know what to expect. It's a little bit more clear, I feel, on that side than it is on the startup side, but there are a lot of people who have those two different personalities. If you really crave that structure and knowing what's coming next and having that plan set for you, a hard plan set for the future, then that hierarchy is going to be really beneficial. Whereas if you're someone who likes that excitement of something new all the time and, I'm going to have one day where I just don't know what's coming at me. And that's kind of every day with a startup. Right. So it's acknowledging yourself and where you really flourish and what your goals are with your career.
I also want to add, one subtlety that I've noticed in the separation is when I've jumped between consulting companies and product companies, I find that consulting companies tend to be way more liberal with applying the title because they charge different rates for them. So which kind of I got this kind of skepticism when looking at CVs when it was a senior developer at a consulting company versus a product company.
Yeah, and if you feel that you're in that position, if you're currently someone who is in a consulting position and you have that same title that you're looking for, that senior developer, but feel that there is that maybe stigma about that contract role, then always aligning that experience with what they're looking for in that job description or that next level is going to help you to show, I really did accomplish all of these things. I do have the necessary skill set and experience for this next level. Let me show you where I've done this and how I was successful.
Bam. What else questions do we have? We have touched a little bit on taking on projects beyond your pay grade. We talked about asking seniors if they have projects that you can take on. But what are other ways to find these projects and actually get to work on them?
I think taking that initiative on yourself and acknowledging maybe there's a gap somewhere with something that you can fill or something that your team can fill, and bringing that to other people's attention and saying, this is something we need to address and I'm happy to lead this initiative. And then you can pick and choose your team, possibly. You can be the one to delegate, and you've already given yourself that leadership position while taking on this other responsibility, and you're kind of getting twofold with your experience there.
Yeah, ideally you want to find projects in-house for problems that are current for you and your company and your organization or your team and solve those problems. But if you can't find that, contributing to open source work is also really helpful to do on your own time to show that you have been upskilling in some certain fashion or taking on a new project that doesn't necessarily relate, but it shows that you are flexing those muscles and that skill set.
Brilliant. Regarding leading your team, how do you get started in that? Because you don't have any authority. You don't as a just a developer in a space. How do you actually start to do your first fledgling steps in trying out leadership?
Sure. I would say start becoming the go-to person for things, being the subject matter expert. Do people come to you to solve problems, to ask questions, to be that person that everyone goes to? So start being that person, because that'll automatically put you in a leadership position even without the title, because you've already established yourself as a resource to other people on your team. So really being very mindful of what you are finding out there. Are you, keeping up with current trends? So really doing that on your own time to be the person that people go to.
And increasing that engagement with increasing that skill set and being that go-to person. If you're involved and you're constantly in a lot of these meetings and you're present and you're voicing your opinions and your contributions, then that only gets you noticed, and people will start to naturally gravitate toward, oh, I know that Ingrid has this answer for this question. I'm going to go to her, because she just talked about this in a meeting we were just in. So I know she's someone that will be able to help me with this. So not only being able to actually perform the tasks and being great at that and being that top performer, but also making yourself accessible, being engaged.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about acting in the role of a senior developer already, but then comes a question, like, if you actually got this role of a senior developer, can you actually handle it? Can you talk a little bit about how you would find that out?
I think this is a huge part of this process and of moving up in any career advancement for any type of position, because we don't always think about that. You just think about, I really want to move up, I want this new title, I want this new pay raise, but really getting in deep will give you that preparation you need and show you when you get to that next stage, okay, I know a little bit more of what to expect. We're not always going to know everything that's coming at us, but there are ways to be really prepared and know this is a great step for you. So I love networking. Networking is important whether you're looking for a job, whether you're advancing, whether you're just passive and hanging out, enjoying your job, but making sure that you're meeting other people that have like interests and experience. So networking is really going to come into play with this stage, and you want to start talking to as many people as you can that have this experience or in this role currently. And I would always start with the company you're in currently. So if there's, a group of senior developers that you can tap into, then definitely start that. And we did touch on that a little bit already, but you want to identify those individuals, reach out to them and say, hey, I just want to chat with you 15, 20 minutes. I'll buy you a cup of coffee. I'll take you to dinner, whatever it is. Just sit down with me for a little bit because I want to learn more about what you're doing, the good, the bad, and the ugly. If you don't have a lot of people that you can tap into at your current organization, you can also reach out to other people that are at other organizations and see what they're doing and kind of gather that information as well. Ideally, you want to know what to expect at this company, and these people are the best place to start. But if that doesn't work, then we can jump onto LinkedIn. You can search people that are in that senior developer role in similar companies, similar size, possibly same location if you can find them, which I'm sure you can for a lot of these. But the same thing happens there, and sit down with them and be candid, tell them I'm really interested in moving up. I think I'm ready for this, but I want to have as many facts as possible before I take this leap. Can you just talk about the things that you enjoy in this role, things that you weren't expecting, and some of those challenges that you're facing now or that you faced when you first made this transition?
What are things that you that common cold showers that people get when advancing into senior roles?
Sure, yeah, and tapping into that ugly part of the senior level job search, we can definitely do that. So it's not going to all be sunshine and rainbows. Yes, you have this great new title. Yes, you have a sweet new paycheck, but there are caveats to that, and there are going to be, a little bit things that you probably weren't aware of. So know that majority of your time will actually be spent in meetings. I believe there is a stat out there that 75 to 80% of your time will actually be spent in meetings, doing high-level decision making instead of actually coding. So if coding is your forte and that's what you really love about your job, this may not be the best fit for you, because you're going to be spending a lot of your time making those decisions instead of being, in the trenches, for example. So know that a majority of the time is going to be spent with other people doing cross-functional work, making high-level decisions. Also, really identifying whether or not you're a people person or not, because you're going to have to do a lot of talking. So in different capacities, one of them is going to be mentorship, because that's really kind of an expectation for your role to actually mentor other people that can get into your specific role or further and beyond. And also knowing that you have to have difficult conversations. So when you're a senior, you have people under you. So you're more often than not going to be conducting reviews over time. You're going to have to address certain issues about performance expectations. So these are very difficult conversations for someone who may consider themselves an introvert, for example. So knowing that you're going to have to flex those muscles in terms of relating to people. And also conflict resolution as well. Being a senior requires you to be a leader. So if there's something that happens, on the floor with your people under you, you need to know how to actually handle those conflicts. And again, those hard decisions, you're not going to be able to please everyone, especially in those meetings when you're trying to advocate for your specific team. That's not going to be reflective of everyone's motivation for that particular conversation. Yeah. So know that you can't please everyone, and that that's just part of being in a senior level position.
Can I add something there on the note Sure. of unpopular decisions? I learned something from the most senior developers at Spotify who maintained the playlist system, which was basically the system that was like, if that went down or like was deleted, then we could just like quit Spotify. And so it was a very important role, and the engineers on it were the most senior ones, and they were so boring. Like they were very much like not the kids that were using the latest framework. They were very much like, can we do this in as simplest way as possible? And like the team took over a bunch of services at one time, and they was just looking at these services and just like threw out these dependency injection frameworks. We wrote it in like straightforward code in exactly the same way all other services were written. It was just a remarkable feat of not like being excited about your craft in a very different way. Like not being excited about tools, but the simplicity of it. And I also had another excellent example of what I think is senior behavior. I don't remember his name. He was the one that made Fish Shell. Friendly interactive shell, and of course, like he's so Axel Liljenkrantz. Shout out to Axel. He was amazing because he showed like that even though he was a senior, it was more about other people's code and other people's projects and other people's incentives. So he would come down to our satellite office and he would just ask questions. That's all he did. He just like wanted to figure out what was driving this team and where they were strategically in the organization and what its needs were and frustration. And that's what he would do, which was an amazing thing to do, to just take interest in the organization, not just build rapport and build understanding in order to, if I need to convince this team of anything, I need the spaces.
Right. And it's still good to acknowledge those different pieces of that level. As you just explained, it's so different from those two interactions that you had. And that's what you have to kind of gain, that insight when you're talking to people and looking at all of the different aspects of these roles.
So let's talk a little bit about advancing the confidence to actually do this, because like many things, like going to the gym, it's one thing to go like, I do these things, but actually going up to senior devs or talking to your manager, like you have to first start to deal with the self-doubt. Am I good enough? Like it's just a coincidence that I'm in this job in the first place, right? So it's do you have any insights on that I could talk about?
Sure. So imposter syndrome has to deal with a lot of doubt. So rectifying that doubt, I think, requires you to take stock of your accomplishments. So before going into any conversation with another senior developer or, your manager, it's really helpful to kind of have a running list of your accomplishments and do some self-promotion. I know it's very difficult, especially when you don't feel like you belong there in the first place, but I think starting off with a running list of the things that you have accomplished in your role and that you have been doing will bridge that confidence and will give you that confidence in order to come into a situation knowing, you know what, hey, I can actually do this.
And I think it's also important too to acknowledge the majority of people are feeling what you're feeling too. When they're making
Yes.
that next step, they also don't feel that they were ready. People that you look up to right now, that you know have already advanced and maybe multiple levels above you, were once in your same shoes and felt those same feelings. So I think acknowledging that makes it feel a lot less lonely when you're in
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
situation.
like
And just like, yeah,
with
go ahead.
imposter syndrome, the thing that I always harp on about is that when people like, when does it get better? No, it gets worse. Because
Yeah,
as you progress,
really.
you just start working with more and more talented people, and you just start realizing how insignificant you really are in the grand scheme of things. uh, it's like, yeah, nobody's alone in that. All right, so we talked a lot about the technicalities of things, but like if this feels like something that, hey, I want to do this, I want to move forward, what is the next step for me?
Always talking to that manager, right? Sit down with whoever your lead is and make your intentions known and talk to them about this goal that you have. Acknowledge all of the things that you've been doing to prepare for this next level. Show that you have that experience and skill set that you need for this next position, and sit and wait for that feedback from them as well, right? Are they on the same page with you? Maybe we need a little bit more time here. And if that is the case, then you can always build that timeline together and say, this is definitely a goal I have. I want to reach this in 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever it is, and then actually make that timeline. You'll be actively adding more of those responsibilities that are necessary for that next role onto your own plate so that you are building that resume and those qualifications.
And like Megan said, it's not a one and done conversation. This is going to be ongoing throughout your time at the company. So establishing that timeline allows you to have these benchmarks of, you know what, I need to hit this in order to kind of be considered for this top tier level. And also, you don't want it to just be one conversation because more often than not, your manager will forget about that interaction. So you do want to stay top of mind and say, you know, this is what I've been doing. Again, having that running list of accomplishments that you had so you can provide the evidence that's necessary for them to consider you for that role.
Bam, that's an amazing wrap up. That's how you become a senior developer, or like start your journey on that path. Just go do it. Take that next step, and that's the only way to do. And only way to, you can do it. Jesus, I'm not gonna retake that again. I've been like that in so many times now. Can we talk about now our lovely sponsor, the company that you do work for, that you are career coaches in, Seen by Indeed?
Yeah, so Scene, as we said at the beginning of this video here, is a matching platform specifically for tech talent. And we're a little bit different from our competitors in that we have a lot of services that we offer to our job seekers 100% free. And this deals with career coaching. We are both coaches for Scene, which means that we give that human touch here and that support that you need. You're not alone in this job search. It can be so frustrating and so hard and take more time than we expected it to some of the time, right? So with Scene, yes, we do have the matching side, and you can find, those jobs on our platform. But more importantly, you can gain access to that individual career coaching. Have that 30-minute conversation with someone who's, been in this field and knows what the trends are and knows what you can do to optimize your job search, optimize that interview skill set that you have, optimize your negotiation strategy, all of these different things. That's why we are here for you. And if you're not someone who wants that in-person connection or wants to be on the phone with someone, we also have virtual resources as well that we've created. And that's different video series that help with, again, these same different stages that you're experiencing, that kind of walk you through step by step what to expect and how to react, and how to prepare for all of those different pieces. We also have cheat sheets and webinars. Our webinars are really taking off now, to provide that human touch as well, but allow you to have maybe a little bit more of that privacy if that's something that you're
I
seeking.
love that because I've reviewed a lot of applications, and when I started doing that, I was surprised at like how low the quality was, how like many like beginner mistakes people were doing, that they could have if they had some feedback on it from somebody that knows what a company is looking for when filtering resumes or determining whom to call an interview, they just wouldn't have been there. So many people just send in their resume without any kind of coaching. And sometimes you're lucky and the company does provide feedback on your stuff, but mostly not. And even if you ask them, because people don't have the time. So this service is just so, like, I love pushing this.
From your audience's perspective as well, they probably get inundated with recruiter calls and jobs that really don't match what they're looking for, and it can get really frustrating to be contacted for positions that don't match what you're looking for. So basically your scene profile functions as your application. So once you have one established profile, companies are able to find you and then reach out to you, and you get matched with opportunities based on what's included there. So you don't have to constantly apply for a million different positions. You basically just have that one and done application process, and then companies come to you.
Yeah. So so they don't see my contact details unless I apply.
Right.
Right. You have to be matched first.
That's very nice.
So it protects you.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Hello, I'm a recruiter. I'm looking. You have a very interesting LinkedIn profile.
Exactly. Yep. We all know that messaging.
Brilliant. This was so much fun, and I really hope that also the audience found it useful. If you're new, this was an episode of Fun Function. It's a show about programming that I produce every week. Subscribe somewhere here in order to be updated about that, or you can watch another episode right now by clicking somewhere else. I am MPJ. This is
Ingrid.
Megan.
All right.
Okay.
Until next Monday morning, stay curious. Bye.